All right, as promised, my dreaded Velma video. Well, not really. I mean, yes, Velma is an absolutely terrible show, full of nothing redeemable that I have seen so far, and I'm not going to venture any deeper into it. And, blessings on the people who continue to watch it. That's all I'll have to say. And of course, we also have Kevin Smith's terrible Masters of the Universe and Rings of Power, and I could go on with a list. I could go on all day. Halo, yada, 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 yada. And these shows are just so plentiful, right? And they are just so bad. They are killing the value of the brand itself. They're killing the value of the IPs, of course, anything that's attached to it. And they're missing so many licensing opportunities by destroying this. Those are opportunities to make additional revenue. And the studios have been going out of the way to make less and less, it seems, by eliminating those streams. But of course, all these shows have one thing in common. They are all in name only. There's more here. Let's talk about it. Here we go. Now, before we get started, I just want to remind you to look down and check to see if you're still subscribed to the channel. And if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me grow, and it'll get me deeper into the algorithm, so we'll have a bigger crowd over here, which is always more fun. And if you are subscribed, when you do subscribe, be sure the bell is turned on and all notifications are there so that you don't miss a video, a short, or a live stream. And there are plenty of those to go around every single week. And if you already have notifications on, there's one bonus. You'll be able to, if obviously you're subscribed, you'll be able to have the community tab, which will alert you, because I put my own notifications in there from time to time for new videos and shorts and live streams. Sometimes the notifications don't come through. So let's reinforce that a little bit. With that being said, let's get on to the video. Obviously, we've all been suffering from, maybe not all of us. Maybe we're allowing others to suffer on our behalf to get through some of these shows, at least for the first episode to 3. Who knows? So there have been so many, so many terrible reboots and remakes of these shows that we all grew up with, right? We're kind of in that generation where they're rebooting the stuff from 20 to 30 years ago, right? I've been calling these shows in name only for well over a year now. And I think that's right. I think it's even closer to 2 years, to be honest with you. But I think that's exactly what they are. They're in name only. They have very little to do with what preceded them. And it just amounts to a stolen name to write something hateful and agenda driven and just something that's just full of pablum to, I don't know, gaslight the audience into accepting the message, right? At least that's what it seems. And it doesn't just happen in, obviously, television. It happens in film, pretty much all mediums now. You almost can't get away from them trying to inject this garbage. And I think I may have been underselling all these efforts before with my in-name only label. The in-name only label maybe is not strong enough. Maybe we need to be more harsh. Perhaps it should be stolen naming. Take a page out of somebody else's book. Or maybe name theft. I think that's probably right. Because it's always a bait and switch. And it's not like we don't see it coming. And I think that's why these shows are underperforming more and more frequently. Because the audience is just tired of it. They've been tired of it for a long time. To quote a famous rock band, they don't want to get fooled again. Regardless of the nomenclature that we use here to describe these particular atrocities, in other words, whether we call it in name only or stolen naming or name theft, it doesn't matter. Because the goal of these creators is always the same. Always. And it's not just the creators, it's everybody that essentially employs them. They want to use the beloved IP, the things that you have an attachment to, that you'll bring another generation to, and they want to use that beloved IP to inculcate a neo-Marxist worldview. And they want to deliver that to the masses in a very underhanded, ham-fisted way. And that just is absolutely disgusting to me. And, they're all deviously crafted. They have a quite forced form of writing within a certain framework. I mean, it's always the same. They have the checkbox heroes, spread a variety of identitarian descriptives across the characters rather than giving them actual personalities or any form of character development. Sometimes they lack agency completely. And when it comes, obviously to Velma, well, and many others, you even get the coveted self-insert because they never miss the opportunity to put themselves in a character, which is amusing in a way. You get to see exactly what kind of person they are, and it doesn't usually reflect well. And again, that's a lack of self-awareness, and why you really shouldn't take advice from almost any of the actors out there. And there are a lot of actors that'll tell you that. And of course, what's worse here is that the rewriting of everything within a given IP, well, the heroes and the villains, they never represent they have no resemblance to the classic that essentially created the brand in the first place. And the motivations and the origins are completely different, which is done willfully, such as in the case of Velma or even Masters of the Universe. Even the most beloved aspects of a property are either destroyed or left out completely. And you can always point to Velma not having Scooby-Doo, which maybe is a blessing. But ultimately, with all of these shows, that's the goal, to just tear it down and destroy it. And of course, who would have guessed just how literal and paint by numbers all of this was going to be? I mean, you could have written it down a decade ago and nobody would have believed you. You see, they really do show their cards quite literally. Speaking of a particular podcast in this sense, they're underwritten by studios with the title of Rewriting Ripley. And that, that's still around. I mean, it's less prevalent because it's been essentially exposed for what it is. It continues to spew lies and misinformation to everybody every day if they bothered to go check. Of course, they still have their Medium blog space and their podcast, which you can find in a few locations. And then, of course, all the smooth-brained Twitter responses that you get from that particular place from time to time. All I would ask is that you never forget the claims that they made at the time when we were breaking down what was happening with Star Wars. They obviously were getting the support from Disney. That's been shown in a few different ways. Essentially, Disney wanted them to go after creators like RK Outpost, everybody knows him as Ryan, Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers, of course, and our own Gary, Nerdrotic, of course. They were trying to tie them to some kind of a hate campaign, which just wasn't there. They just happened to hate the film, not the things that they were being accused of. And again, bogus claims are easily debunked, and they quickly were. It does give some people pause in consuming content, and I think that's unfair. Again, all of that was done in support of destroying beloved franchises from within. They attack the fans because they know what they're doing and they don't like to be called out on. And of course, the reason I bring up all of these radical feminists, which is what Rewriting Ripley was, and of course all the ilk that came along with it, like Transparency Tube, and by the way, they're tied together and follow each other, but it is what it is. Same small group of brainlets, as Eric July would call them. An infinitesimally small group. There's not a lot to them. They are one of the smallest gears in a giant machine that's, again, designed to eliminate good entertainment, or at least not produce it. I mean, they can't willfully go out and destroy things that have already been created. Another cog in the machine of the modern audience is the limitation or elimination of physical media. And some of that's happenstance, some of it's willful. And it plays right into the rights holders' hands, of course, because they can release the media digitally, which you don't actually have in your possession. And the media can be changed at a moment's notice, either on the streaming service or, believe it or not, actually in the theater. You could be seeing a different version of something that somebody else saw before you. I mean, just try to get your hands on the infamous butthole cut from Cats, or the televised Starbucks Game of Thrones with their accidental promo with the Starbucks cup in that show. Now, I know I've said this before and some people don't believe me, but streaming can actually insert ads into shots and replace previous ads, replace entire scenes completely. They can be added, they can be removed. Even old classic films, if there was alternate footage that they would prefer to show, you could be watching something different. And again, all of this is in service of this small-minded mentality of modern audience sensibility, which isn't really a thing. I mean, it isn't. Nobody wants this. They want high-quality entertainment with story, character development, a hero's journey, yada, yada, yada. The fictional modern audience isn't banging down the door. How do I know that? Look at the performance of everything from television to film, especially recently. There's a very small group, I keep saying that, of people that are trying to assert a certain amount of authoritarian control through indoctrination. There's no freedom for creators any longer, because if it's not being mandated by the studios or anybody along the chain there in order to qualify for awards, they're mandating it there. So there's just a list of boxes. And I think the film, the recent Tom Hanks film, A Man Called Otto, I think that's the embodiment of that, and definitely suffers from it. It took it from something that could have been a high quality film to something that you would get from the Hallmark Channel. Again, all of this is fully on display. The soullessness, the lack of depth, and you can see it in any show or film coming out of almost any studio these days. Even the newly branded tech streamers like Apple Plus and Amazon and similar, yeah, they rarely produce anything. Nearly everything out there in the world seems to be dreck. Specifically with Amazon, the Rings of Power was garbage, and they admitted it. And Disney, of course, the biggest studio brand out there right now, is willfully destroying itself at every opportunity in both film and streaming, and in some other areas as well. They've really diminished the favorability of their brand, and we'll get into that. Hopefully sometime in March or April, I'll have some new metrics there. But the 2022 box office bombs alone, they were terrible. They didn't earn a lot of money, if any. In fact, films lost hundreds of millions of dollars. And the only thing that's, the saving grace at the end of 2022 was the 20th Century Fox film, Avatar, The Way of Water. And of course, I say it that way because that's where it started, not at Disney. And Disney's streaming shows suffered from a lot. Did you not see Jessica Gao write herself into the She-Hulk in various ways? She obviously was Jennifer in the show. She really did leave little to the imagination in how her writer's room feel about themselves and, how they feel about us as an audience. I don't think that was hidden in any way. In fact, if you track all of the Disney Plus shows, very few didn't suffer from heavy-handed politics in some way. Identitarian ideology, of course, and some very tiresome self-inserts, like the one I just mentioned. Worse yet is that this is all-encompassing, with very few notable exceptions. No story created in any of those shows ever really amounted to anything, and you can't really move forward any of the stories of any of these backward storytelling things from Star Wars. I would say there was a lack of progress, and that's quite telling in all media these days. Stagnation and regression, and attempts to rewrite history, of course. Go figure. For me, Velma is a name, a stolen name at that, and it's been completely defaced. MotU, that was a name, it's been defaced. Lord of the Rings, that was a name, stolen, and then defaced. And the list goes on and on. And I focus on those three shows because those are probably the three worst. Again, I'm sure that's not lost on anybody. Anybody watching today probably already knows how I feel about it because I've said it. And a lot of other people have as well. I'm sure you have your own personal list of properties that may have been destroyed, things that you held close from your youth, or maybe even in your adulthood. And of course, again, that destruction, that lost the studio value. It lost those brands' value, which will further limit profits in the future. For now, I'm just going to encourage you to collect whatever physical media that you can find. Resist the urge to pitch the things that may become irreplaceable. I know a lot of times you look at a video cassette tape and go, I don't need this anymore. Well, if you need to get rid of something like that, be sure you back it up, at least to your own digital library if you can. It'll save you a lot of heartache in the future, I'm sure. I've only used a few examples today. What's been destroyed just in the last year, I would say at least 100 things. Here a long time if I tried to list them all. As I said, I'm sure you have your own examples. Am I right to see the things that I see the way I see them? Are there more than a handful of hopes out there that we have some genuine entertainment on the near horizon? Are you still supporting stolen naming or the in-name only media out there? Feel free to answer those questions down below in the comments section. They do help with the algorithm because they count as the best form of engagement. As I mentioned before, if you haven't hit the like button, please do so because it so helps. And support other independent creators out there because they absolutely need your support. And honestly, this type of direct conversation, this is the only place you're going to get it. You're not going to get it out of the mainstream media, which is pushed here on this platform and many others. So, and with that, be sure to take care of yourself. Take care of others. Wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye. And don't forget to check out my Rumble at rumble.com/CultureCasino.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.